Our first speaker today, Laura Wilkinson, is the Education Manager at Crossref and has been involved in a number of initiatives across the world, including universities, libraries, and publishers at Crossref and at Orchid, where she was previously employed. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you very much for your introduction, Andrew. My name's Laura Wilkinson. I work at Crossref, and it's my pleasure to join you today from France. And my topic is openness in scholarly infrastructure. What do we mean by this, and why is it important? Infrastructure is a word we often understand in the context of a society or an enterprise. It's often visible to us networks that comprise buildings, roads, power supplies, water, and internet. But what do we mean when we talk about infrastructure in the world of scholarly communications? A useful acronym is to consider SEMA, which stands for Storage, Identifiers, Metadata, and Assertions. Storage simply means places to put stuff that is generated by research. This could also include physical materials. An example might be the platform on which you host your journal content. Identifiers are the means by which we uniquely identify each of the many elements within scholarly communications. Unlike ISSNs and ISBNs, persistent identifiers are unique. There's only one identifier for a given object of a given type. They are unambiguous and they're actionable. You can click on a DOI link, for example, to find out more about the research work to which it refers. Critically sitting alongside each identifier is the metadata that goes with it. And the metadata is the information about each object, which, for example, for an ORCID ID for a researcher, could include where the researcher has worked, the qualifications that they have, the works to which they've contributed. And for a publication, this might include bibliographic information, such as the title and the authors. And it could include administrative elements as well, such as licensing or text and data mining permissions. And finally, assertions are relationships between all of these objects. These assertions could include, for example, an ORCID ID connecting a researcher with a DOI for a work. This could also include datasets, peer review, contributors, grant IDs, connecting all of these elements across time and space. Some examples of these in action. Here's a DOI on a journal landing page. In green at the bottom there, I've highlighted the DOI, and in red at the top is the standard URL for that page. It's good practice to cite the DOI instead of the URL, because over time, the URL of the work may change, but the DOI will always point reliably to where the content is hosted. It's also good practice to include DOIs in citation lists. And if you're not sure if the works you're citing have DOIs, you can use our free open simple text query tool to look them up. ORCID Auto-Update is another example of assertions between identifiers connecting researchers and their works. The second element of openness is our community governance model, and it's this that makes our infrastructure responsive. When I talk about governance, what I mean are the political structures of rules and decision-making that allow members of a social group to work together to solve common problems. At Crossref and at ORCID, we have a board of directors who are directly elected by our members. To ensure effective governance and get a wide input from both members and other stakeholders across scholarly communications, we also have committees. And all members get an equal vote. That's what our one member, one vote phrase means. And any member may stand for election to the board. This membership model is participative. Members deposit metadata, they vote in the board elections, they make suggestions, they give feedback. It's inclusive by design, and active citizenship is encouraged. And it's not just for members. Our 501c6 tax-exempt status obliges us to provide benefit to the broader non-member community as well. So this is both challenging and constructive. We won't necessarily agree, but it's a place to have a conversation where many people can participate and where we can cooperate on new projects. At the July board meeting at Crossref, the following resolution was approved, stating in particular that we are committed to the collaborative development of open scholarly infrastructure for the benefit of our members and the wider research community. Within this, we're considering operational, governance, technical, and product and service issues. And we're looking at opportunities to increase the benefits to the wider research community in general by working more closely together. The strategy committee has been formed and there are lots of discussions going on. Thirdly, it's our financial model that makes our infrastructure sustainable, both today and tomorrow. Crossref is sustained by fees, the core of which are fees paid by members, and these are based on their publishing revenue. Our Membership and Fees Committee regularly reviews the fees and makes recommendations to our board. This committee includes representation from funders, sponsors, and platforms, as well as publishers. We haven't increased the regular annual membership or content registration fees in over 12 years. So in effect, this means the fees have gone down by about 30% during this time. And we even removed crossmark fees in 2020. Our fee principles inform all future fee modelling and decisions, and they're aimed at encouraging best practices and discouraging bad practices. As a not-for-profit organisation, the surplus that we make is reinvested in people and technology to steward and develop our services and tools. As well as joining Crossref directly as a member, it's also possible to join through a sponsor. And in South Africa, your main sponsor partners are Sabinet and PKP. Many of our members join through a sponsoring organisation, as this helps them participate in Crossref and overcome cost, technical, administrative, and other barriers. Fourthly, it's the interoperability and openness that makes the infrastructure trustworthy and scalable. By default, all the metadata that members deposit with Crossref is available to be searched and retrieved by everyone. This allows research discovery from a shared open database on a global scale. When you register your content, it isn't just about getting a persistent identifier for your work. It's also about where your metadata goes after you've registered it with Crossref, and how many other organizations can then use this metadata to discover the content that you publish. Because our metadata is standardized and machine readable, it's very useful to many organizations that help in making your content discoverable. So many different tools and services make use of our free APIs to help them get the most complete, up-to-date set of metadata from all of our publisher members. An example of this discovery in action, here's a DOI in use at this age-old journal. And you don't just need to take my word for it. Here is a nice tweet from somebody just a few weeks ago, appreciating that we have good people and are responsive to community needs. So this is why it says on the homepage of our website that we make research outputs easy to find, cite, link, assess, and reuse. And we exist to make scholarly communications better. So in summary, it's the open SEMA, the storage, identifiers, metadata, and assertions that make our infrastructure useful. It's the community governance model that makes it responsive. Our financial model means that our infrastructure is sustainable both today and tomorrow. And it's our interoperability and openness that makes our infrastructure trustworthy and scalable. And this is why we say we're smart alone, but we're brilliant together. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you.